All right, let me make sure. All right, recording is starting. You good to go?
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Meredith. I am your account manager with Freckle, and I am so excited to meet with you all today to help you get started. So on this training today, we're going to spend the next 90 minutes together. About an hour of this training is going to be me getting you started, getting into your accounts, making sure that you know how to use Freckle. Then for the last 30 minutes, you're going to hear from Ms. Eubanks, and Ms. Eubanks is going to talk you through how she uses Freckle and how it's been beneficial for her. So if you get tired of the sound of my voice after about 45 minutes, don't worry. You're only going to hear from me for about an hour before you hear from Ms. Eubanks for the last 30 minutes. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you save these two email addresses here. So screenshot them, write them down, take a picture, just make sure you have them. This is my direct line. So if you have any questions on like how to use Freckle or need any advice, reach out to me. If you need support, if things aren't working in Freckle the way that you expect them to, please reach out to support@freckle.com. If there's questions that I can't answer, they're the people, this is the email that I go to. So just make sure that you know how to contact me and you know how to contact tech support. So any questions you have are getting answered throughout. We don't want you to feel like you're all alone out there trying to navigate this on your own. So our topics today is we're going to start with an introduction to what Freckle is. Then we're going to go into the student dashboard. And in the student dashboard, we're going to look through math practice and ELA practice, as well as assignments and tracking. Then we're going to go over to the teacher dashboard, learn some tips and tricks on your roster customization, look at some reports, as well as science and social studies. I have Q&A here at the end, but I'm going to be stopping throughout. Feel free to post questions in chat. Ms. Eubanks will be monitoring that. Or even better, take yourself off mute and ask me questions directly, since I can't see chat, and I would really love to hear from you. I want this to be as meaningful for you as possible. So before we get started today, here in chat, can you all just type on a scale from 0 to 4, 0 being I've never heard of Freckle before, 4 being I'm a Freckle expert, I don't need you, I could teach this training myself. Where are you all at with Freckle? And then Ms. Eubanks, if you could just let me know about what you're seeing in those responses.
All right, sure. Okay, quite a few zeros.
Okay.
Ones. Mostly zeros and ones. Got a couple of 4s. 1, 2 4s.
Okay, great. So we got a couple of 4s. That's great. So there's some Freckle leaders in your building that you can turn to as you're getting started with this. For those of you who are brand new, that's perfect. That's exactly why we're here. And Tammy, sorry to put you on the spot here for a minute, but I think it might also be helpful for you to just provide some context of why Freckle was purchased.
Oh, well. Well, one thing I do believe in, relationships matter. And so because Miss Eubanks is a techie tech extraordinaire, I've heard her speak about Freckle for maybe a couple of years now. And I had my listening ears on when Dr. Boston was talking earlier in the beginning of the year and said, okay, guys, we got a little money. And so I did a plug for, can I spin it? Can I spin it? And it went from there. And so getting in touch with you, Meredith, has been such a joy, such a blessing. I couldn't have asked for a better rep to answer the phone, and then being able to slam dunk over to Ms. Eubanks and let her do her thing that she always does for us with the help of our administration, Ms. Warner, Dr. Boston in particular, and thanks to the district for doing some amazing thing for us that the teachers should actually benefit from in the way of rostering and in Clever. So that's kind of full circle how we got here. So I'm ready to learn just like everybody else is. Thanks again, Meredith. So appreciate you working with the dollar amount that I had, not what it would have cost someone else. So blessings and favor on Freedom Middle School to be able to use Freckle, even if it's just for second semester, guys. You just don't know just how much of a blessing this is for us to even be introduced to it and have our very own Freckler right here with us. So back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Tammy. It is a pleasure working with you and Ms. Eubanks and your team, and I am just so excited to get everybody launched and started today. So Freckle is part of a larger company named Renaissance, and our mission is simple: to accelerate learning for all children and adults of all ability levels and ethnic and social backgrounds worldwide. So what this means is that we want to give you Freckle as a tool to help make sure that every student is working exactly where they need to be to show the most growth. And especially as we're looking at learning loss that's come as a result of the pandemic, we really want Freckle to just be a tool that will help you make sure that you're able to reach all learners and give them exactly what they need. So Freckle empowers you all as teachers to reach every student at their own level. So that means students work at their own level across all content areas, that you all as teachers can track student and classroom level progress, and that administrators also have access to the school-wide reports that they need. So when we look at each subject that you have with Freckle, and you do have all four, you have a variety of adaptive and targeted assessments, and we're going to go into all of that a little more today. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the student dashboard here. And can you all see where it says Gemma Roberson? Can you see that?
Yes, we see that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the very first question that teachers often ask me is, well, how do we log into Freckle? So you all are using a program called Clever. Have you used Clever before with other applications?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So your students are already set up, your accounts are already set up. So everybody's just going to log into Clever. And when your students log in, this is the screen that they're going to see. So a little bit of background on why I'm here and why I'm the person giving you your training today. I was a 6th grade special ed teacher in Wisconsin. So definitely I love working with middle schools. I have a special place in my heart for 6th grade if I have any 6th grade teachers on this call. But as I was teaching, Freckle was the only online program that I could consistently put my students on where they were consistently engaged. So there were some days, as I'm sure you all experience, where come 1, 2 o'clock, my students were just tired of listening to the sound of my voice. They needed something else to do. Freckle was always the program where I knew that they'd be engaged. I knew they'd want to do their best work. And they'd also be working on tasks that were rigorous and meaningful for them. I believed in Freckle so much and loved it so much that I ended up leaving the classroom and joining the company. So just know that this is a program that I've used that I'm super passionate about because of my own experience using Freckle with my special ed classroom. So when students log in, let me provide some context on why it was so engaging. So as students answer questions accurately, they earn coins. And they only earn coins when they answer questions correctly. So they have to try their best and do their best work in order to get these coins. A lot of my students, as we know, middle schoolers are very competitive. So a lot of my students loved just competing against each other and seeing who could get the most coins. And that was engaging enough for them. I had one student end the year with like 200,000 coins, and that was crazy to me. But for most students, they really like that they can then use these coins to spend, and they can buy different backgrounds. They can customize their avatar, like similar to what they're doing in their Instagram stories or on Snapchat. They can really use these coins to customize the experience that they're seeing. So we keep students engaged by making sure that they only get coins when they answer questions accurately, and then they can go and spend those coins. From a teacher perspective, I really liked that they could only spend their coins for 90 seconds at a time before it kicked them out. So they'd answer questions correctly, they'd earn their coins, go into the store, spend their money, and then they'd be kicked out and they'd have to get back to work. Questions or thoughts on this engagement piece before we dive deeper into the content?
No questions in the chat.
Cool. So on the home page, here students can see assignments. So these are what you've specifically assigned to them in their tracker. They can also set weekly goals. So I know that like when I was teaching middle school, having students take ownership of their own learning was really important. So here they can set goals for themselves. And then they can also select the subject of their choice to work at their own level. So starting with math. I imagine your students will spend most of their time working on adaptive math and fact practice. So fact practice was actually my students' favorite thing to do in Freckle, and it's exactly what it sounds like, skill and drill fact fluency. So they can come in here and you can see, I believe this student is a 7th grader, so working on fractions and working on integers. They come in here, just skill and drill fact fluency. My students loved this because they could earn a ton of coins and get it done relatively quickly. So definitely have your students come in here to do some fact practice. But the real bread and butter of Freckle, the reason why like Freckle's flagship program is this adaptive math piece here. So in adaptive math, students will be prompted to take a quick pre-test in each of these domains to understand their learning level. And then from there, they'll be working at their own level at their own pace. So you'll see in the number system, my student Gemma is working at a level 2 versus geometry, where she's working at a level 22. So students are going to be in different areas based on their strengths and based on their areas of growth. And then Freckle will adapt with the student. So as they do well, they'll get more challenging material. As they struggle, they'll be put on that path of remediation. So students are always working exactly where they need to be. Are there any questions on our algorithm or on like getting started with adaptive math? And I get feedback all the time that I talk way too fast. So if I'm talking too fast, please tell me to stop and slow down. I really appreciate any feedback.
All right, Meredith, I don't have any questions in the chat yet, but if any of you do have questions, feel free to use the raise hand option if you wanted to fill out a question.
Thank you, Ms. Eubanks.
All right, no problem.
One more thing here on this page is you can customize what students see. So if you only want them working on the number system, for example, you can turn off everything else to limit their choices. So let's look at geometry. So this student, Gemma, she took her pre-test, and in geometry, she's currently working on polygon areas, which I believe is a 6th grade skill, or at least it was in Wisconsin. So as Gemma is practicing, there's a variety of tools to help her if she gets stuck. The first being is vocabulary support. So maybe she doesn't know what a quadrilateral is. She can get the support on the definition of the words. Also, Freckle can be read aloud. So if you have students who are struggling readers, they can use this read aloud support to help them access the middle school math material. If a student gets stuck, they can first view a hint. And the hint will help them get started, jog their memory. But if the hint isn't enough, if they're still stuck, there's a video that they can watch that will both explain and introduce the skill. So if you're using Freckle, when students should be working independently, they can watch this video to teach themselves how to do this skill so they don't always have to keep asking you when they get stuck. And then finally, these are 3 students who have already mastered this skill that students can ask for help. So last year during virtual learning, there was a school in Atlanta Public Schools where students were actually like picking up the phone and calling each other, asking each other for help. So a variety of different tools that students can access. We also have a pencil tool, as well as digital manipulatives. So here we have different manipulatives that students can access. And then as students answer questions wrong, first the hint will come up, and then the video, just to make sure we're prompting them in multiple different ways. Let me pause here for questions.
Yes, there was a question in the chat from Ms. Hill about the diagnostic test, the availability of the diagnostic test for the level of students.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, she had a question. She said, is there a diagnostic test that determines a student level? So I'll let you answer.
Yes. So let me go back to our adaptive math screen. There is a very brief diagnostic for each domain here within Freckle. So if you're getting ready to teach a unit on geometry, you can have students take the geometry pretest to give them a level in geometry that they can work at. Any other questions, Ms. Eubanks?
That's the only one so far.
All right, Ms. Eubanks, anything else you want to add on the student side for math before I transition over to ELA?
The student side for math, when you speak to the supports, what I've noticed with my students as well is they use the video support often, just to give them that hint. When they are doing their assignments, I've noticed as well the competitiveness. The students basically get to see their ranking against their classmates. So that competitiveness definitely comes out. I just don't want to say too much before you get to that part. Yes, I don't want to say too much, but most definitely.
No, I'm happy you brought that up. I'll make sure that I talk about that when we get to our tracker.
Okay.
So for English, just like in math, we break practice down into 3 different areas. We have word study. This is our decoding program, and it goes through 6th grade level skills of Greek and Latin roots. So if you're a grade level 6th grade teacher, or if you teach struggling learners in 7th or in 8th grade, you can definitely have students benefit from word study. So Gemma, for example, she's working on prefixes, dis, miss, and pre, which I believe is either a 4th or a 5th grade skill. And going in here, I just want to draw your attention to the interface. So as a special ed teacher, I was also an Orton Gillingham tutor. And so I taught 6th graders who had dyslexia, and were reading at the 1st or 2nd grade level. And it was always really hard for me to find decoding resources that weren't like puppies and cupcakes, like things that you could never show a middle schooler because they just automatically disengaged. So we intentionally left this interface really clean, so it's age appropriate. So your middle schoolers who need this decoding support can see something that's age appropriate for them while still working on the skills that they need. In addition to word study, we also have skills practice, which is where most middle schoolers spend the majority of their time in Freckle ELA. We've built out skills practice for nonfiction and fiction, and we're building content for grammar, so keep an eye out for that. But looking at nonfiction, for example, just like in math, we'll start with a quick pretest. There's only one for English, so they'll just take the one pretest to get their overall comprehension level. And from there, they can practice these specific comprehension skills while reading at their individual level. So if you're getting ready to teach a unit on explicit information, for example, students can read this article on explicit information, but at their individual reading level. So if you're a 7th grade teacher, you might have students reading anywhere from the 2nd grade to the 12th grade reading level in your class. You can use Freckle to have each student read at their own level, but practice the same comprehension skills of explicit information with these comprehension questions that go directly along with the text. And then just like in math, there's a video that they can watch if they get stuck. Questions or thoughts on skills practice or word study?
Yes, Ms. Grimes actually had a question back. It's still related to the diagnostic test. Is there one for each content area?
So there's 2 for ELA. There's the word study and the comprehension tests. Then there's the tests for math. Science and social studies will take data from the ELA test.
Okay.
Good question.
And I answered it. We had a question about the read aloud. Was it available for students with disabilities?
Yes, and actually we just updated that feature. I think yesterday was when we launched it. Any student who is reading at a 2nd grade reading level or below will get read aloud support. So even if you have an 8th grader, if they're reading at the 2nd grade reading level, then they'll get those articles read aloud to them. For students reading at the 3rd grade reading level or above, they've demonstrated that they can read independently at that level, so they'll just get text at whether it's the 3rd grade level or the 4th grade level. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That makes sense to me. I hope that answered their question.
Anything else?
Just statements. We're good. Hold on. One more. Does the program? Yeah, it does, but I'll let her answer that. Does the program have multiple languages?
Yes, that's English and Spanish. And to clarify, Freckle Math is completely available in Spanish. For English language arts, Freckle is available in English, but we also have directions read in Spanish. So like the direction read aloud on the interface would be in Spanish, but since Freckle doesn't have like Spanish specific instruction, just English instruction, the actual text would be in English.
Okay, so the majority would be that English.
Yes.
Miss Johnson, did you want to unmute to speak about the languages, or did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, I was just trying to see if it was in any other languages of the Spanish, but she answered. That's fine. Thank you.
All right, yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
I think that relates to diagnostics for Ms. Parker. All right.
All right, we all set, Ms. Eubanks?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So last thing here on the student dashboard is the tracker. So here in the tracker is where middle school students will take ownership of everything that they're doing in Freckle. So first we have their to-do list. These are all the assignments that you've given them. This is a demo account, so hopefully your students won't have 28 assignments in there. Hopefully it'll be like 4 or 5, but here's all of their assignments so they can keep track of what still needs to get done. They can also look at what's already been done, and this is where they can redo assignments. So if a student takes an assignment, maybe they get like a 50 or 60%, they didn't try their best work and they want to come back here and redo, they can come in here and redo assignments that they need to redo. They can also track their progress and growth because, again, we know it's super important for middle schoolers to start taking ownership of their own learning as we're preparing them for high school and college and careers. They can see how many coins they've earned. They can track how many questions they've answered, how much longer until they can unlock their character in the store, how much time they've spent practicing. So if you have like a homework assignment that you want students practicing for 15 minutes a day, they can see how close they are to that. And then down here, this is my favorite part. They can also see how many levels they've grown. So they can see where they started, where their current level is, and how many levels they've grown. So for my students who were students with disabilities who are oftentimes working below grade level, it was really exciting for them to just be able to see how much growth that they were making. And it's something that we really celebrated together. And then finally, Ms. Eubanks alluded to this earlier. Here's where students can compete with one another. And they can see how many coins they've earned and where their placement is. So Gemma, it looks like she's earned 13 coins today, more than anyone else. So she is in first place, I guess. And then there's other teams here that you can see, like we've turned on team mode. So Gemma's part of this green Super Hedgehogs team. This team is in second place behind Fast Apples. And if you want to see who the Fast Apples are, you can see them. It looks like Elle is ahead with the Fast Apples. So Ms. Eubanks, do you want to talk a little bit more about how your students use this page?
Yes, I hear about this page often, about who's in lead and their progress for sure. But mostly I have them focus on the progress and growth because, as you stated, they're working at their own level. So even though it may be the same assignment type, the assignment itself filters out questions specific for your student, so that they can see their progress. I also have them focus on their practice time because oftentimes we all know, especially virtually now, we'll give students assignments and their goal is to complete it fast. You know, as long as I get it completed and not necessarily spend adequate time on it. So this is where I ensure with the students that they're spending enough time on their assignments. So we do this during class. So to start the class, bell ringer. That way they can get used to the steps to be able to do it as homework. For my class specifically, where up top you guys see it has the me, math, English, and tracker. I set up my class to, when the students log in, they have to automatically work on their assignments. So you have that option where you can have them explore the topic and just go and practice, or have them to prioritize the assignments that you have for them. So once they see, you know, their backpack is empty, because it'll show empty backpack, then they can just go and practice. But this is a daily thing that my students use.
Thank you so much, Ms. Eubanks. That's
Yes,
like super helpful insight. And I just really appreciate you jumping in here. So any other questions on the student dashboard before we go over to the teacher dashboard? I see Ms. Grimes has raised her hand.
Yes, Ms. Eubanks said something about the backpack. Where is the backpack?
Right here, it's the tracker.
Oh, okay. All right, I see it now.
We used to call it my backpack, then we changed it to tracker.
Okay.
But it is a backpack. So yeah, good question.
Meredith, I answered a question in the chat, but it will probably be helpful if you answered it out loud as well.
Okay.
Walther was asking, can students be assigned to multiple teachers? And I said they currently should be assigned to 4 of their teachers, and she was inquiring about even in different disciplines. So can you speak to that?
Yes, so teachers can be shared with multiple, or students can be shared with multiple teachers. And let me go over to the teacher side so we can actually start going over some of this. Teachers can be shared with multiple teachers, and they already should be shared with multiple teachers because we've set everything up with Clever. So now I think would be a good time to get all of you into your own accounts just to verify your rosters and make sure that they're looking the way you want them to look. So if you could all, let's take the next, let's see, what time is it? It's 3 o'clock now. So let's take until 3:02 to get in. So if you could all go into Clever, click on your Freckle roster tab, and then, or click on the Freckle icon and go to your roster tab, and then just type into chat, I'm in, when you're in, that would be great. So go ahead.
Ms. Grimes, is your hand up for a new question or is that previous?
You know I'm slow.
It's all right. It's okay. I just asked.
Thank you, shoot.
Ms. Johnson, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I was. If I don't have a roster, should I be checking anything out? I'm not attached to a specific class. Should I be doing something?
Ms. Johnson, what do you teach?
I'm an academic coach. I was just trying to see, should I be checking something?
Got it. As an academic coach, are you like an administrator or are you like a resource teacher?
No, just I support the teachers. I support the teachers instructionally. So
Got it.
I'm not attached to a specific class.
She won't have it from the district. Ms. Grimes. District, yeah, from the district, she won't have it. We won't have. I'll have it because I do have students attached to me, but Ms. Johnson and Ms. Archie, they won't have the they won't have Freckle attached to them because they have no students rostered to them. So
okay,
yeah. So I'll share with them.
Thank you, Ms. Grimes. I appreciate it. Mr. Jones, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I actually had. I ended up adding my a roster of my own. I don't see it in Freckles. Is that a reason? Should it be automatically from the district? Anyone know?
It should automatically be from the district. Are you going to Clever and logging into Freckle that way?
There's no. Yeah, I'm in Clever. I don't see icon for Freckle. Is that something I need to add?
What do you teach, Mr. Jones?
Math, interrelated.
Okay, let me, hold on. I'm just typing your name down here. Let me follow up with you after this training to see what might be going on there because you should have the icon within Freckle.
Mr. Jones is a new family member and I'm not sure if everything may have attached to him. It should, but again, that's one reason, Meredith. He's a new family member for us, and that shouldn't be an issue, but just to give you some context.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
People looking in Clever right now, scroll down to the all content section, and you'll see the little pink pig, and that's Freckle.
I think we all are experiencing that in the building. Some of us in certain areas are just not really connected.
No.
So we work with what we have. Okay. And I like the chat to be kind of.
Sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
This is Ms.
Can we make
Banks.
sure we mute our microphones? Everyone mute your microphones, please.
Ms. Eubanks, would it be helpful? Can I stop sharing and can you just show everyone how you're currently logging in to Freckle through Clever?
Yes, also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. All right. Okay, so my screen should be sharing. Give it 1 second.
Great.
Okay. Does everyone see Clever at this point?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So mine was already scrolled down. Once you guys get into Clever, you will scroll down to the subtitle that says all content. That's where you have your brain pop and everything else. Freckle is this pig right here. It says Freckle by Renaissance. And you click on the pig.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Eubanks.
No problem.
And Ms. Eubanks, are you seeing in chat that people are starting to get in?
Yes, the majority of people have gotten in. There were a few people that had questions as far as what Freckle looked like.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see a couple of raised hands here. Ms. Thompson, what was your question?
I teach creative writing on the connection schedule. And I do not have the icon for Freckle. Am
Okay.
I have it, Ms. Grimes?
I don't have it either.
I take that as a no.
I take that as, I'm sorry, and it might be something we need to discuss with Ms. Warner and our district connection to see if you all can be classified as ELA teachers and have it attached to you. But that's, note there, Meredith, you can notate their names as well. That's Thompson and V. Thompson and Watson. I mean, V. Thompson and Cabwatha, or if not, I can speak to you later about those. I made a note of those.
Yep.
Okay. And for those, there are a couple of people that are saying that they don't see it. Ms. Gerard, if you would try to type it in to search, that's possible. I don't know. Is there a reason Ms. Gerard wouldn't have it? Ms. Gerard, she's mad.
She should have it because she should be tied to her content in math, even though she's the 5th person. That still doesn't matter unless she's classified as, I wouldn't say a connect. Yeah, she should have it. Anybody whose name, who doesn't see it, please make sure you send your name to, send it to Ms. Eubanks, please.
Yes, send it to me. That's fine.
Yeah. And we'll make sure we find out. We'll do that.
Great. So if you can't get in right now, let Ms. Eubanks know, and Ms. Eubanks, please tell me and we can troubleshoot, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ferguson, what was your question? Mr. Ferguson, are you all set? All right, how about Mr. Jackson?
Okay, Ferguson.
Yeah, hello? Yes, but I was concerned with
Mr. Jackson, we're gonna let Mr. Ferguson go. No offense. We're gonna let Mr. Ferguson go. We're gonna come right back to you. We're gonna let you marinate for 1 moment.
Thank you, Ms. Eubanks.
Oh, no problem.
Listening to what have been said, it seems as if Freckle gives a comprehensive diagnostic and then zeroing in on areas that students are lacking. Here's my question. What if I want to zero in on just a particular topic? Will I get a diagnostic on that topic only?
Yes, you can absolutely do that. And that is definitely on the agenda to show you how to do that today.
Thank you.
Good question.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, it was pertaining to I can't have, is it only access to the teacher of record or the co-teacher, because I co-teach and I don't have access to it, but my co-teacher does. He has access to both my roster and his as well. So is that only limited to him?
So Mr. Jackson, I'm going to show you right now, actually, how to make sure that co-teachers get access to Freckle. So you should be able to have access to those students as well.
Excellent.
Ms. May?
Yes.
I saw that you have your hand up.
Oh, I have it up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I couldn't at first. I couldn't get in, but I'm in now, so I'm good. Thank you.
Great. So now that everyone's in, the very first place that I want you to go to when you're working through Freckle on your own is your roster. And from your roster, this is where you can share students, where you can customize what students can see, where you can turn on assignments first mode, all of that, all student customization happens in your roster.
Meredith?
Yes.
Right. Are you meant to be sharing?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Let me share.
No problem.
Okay, Ms. Eubanks, can you see my screen? Is it up?
Yep, it's up.
Great. So if you are a co-teacher, so whether you're like me, you're a special ed teacher, or a resource teacher, or a reading teacher, any form of co-teacher, you're going to need to create a Freckle account by going to freckle.com. And there's an option down here that says sign up free. So if you can't access Freckle through Clever because you are a co-teacher, you can create a Freckle account here by going to freckle.com and selecting sign up free. Once you have done that, once you have a Freckle account, the teacher of record can share their students with you. So if there's one thing that I hope you take away from your training, it is this. It is how to share your students with your co-teachers. As a former co-teacher myself, it's really important that everyone who needs access to that student has access to that student. So teachers of record, to share your class with a co-teacher, you click on class options, then share class with a teacher, select the students you need to share, and then select your teacher down here. So co-teachers, your homework is to go to freckle.com and create a free account for yourself. Teachers of record, your homework is to share your class with a co-teacher. Questions here?
Meredith, if you would give those options for the teacher of record one more time. You said class option and then what?
Class options and then share class with a teacher. Mr. Jones, I see your hand is up.
I was going to say that's probably what my problem was. I'm co-teaching with Ms. Eubanks, so that's probably why I wasn't in Freckle. But I set up a class though, so.
Great. And Ms. Eubanks, you can just share your class with Mr. Jones by going to class options and then share class with a teacher. Ms. Grimes, there is also an option in Clever to set up co-teachers. Since it's in Clever, I don't totally know how to do that. But Ms. Grimes, if you want to talk to your district people about setting co-teachers up in Clever, that's an option too.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So looking more at this class options option here, looking at the student settings. So for individual student settings, you can really customize what students are seeing even further. So looking at this dashboard settings option here, and I got there by just going into student settings, edit dashboard settings. Here you can turn on and off what your students need. And this has been critical, especially for middle school students. So definitely make sure that you're confident in how to do this before you leave today. Here you can customize to make sure that students are only seeing what they need. So for example, my students really loved to work on the things that they were good at, and they didn't always want to work on things that were more challenging for them, like number system and expressions and equations. These were super challenging for my students. So when they worked independently, they just didn't want to do that. So you can turn off everything else and then just force students to only work on the areas you want them to practice in. So when they log into Freckle, they only have the option to work on those content areas that you want them to work in. Do you want me to show you how to do this again, or do you feel good about how to get to this page and how to do this?
Can we go back and do it again, please? I missed something.
Sure. So from your roster, open up your class, and then click settings next to any one of your students, doesn't matter which one, and then edit dashboard settings.
Okay, click on the class.
And then click settings next to any one of your students.
Okay.
And then edit dashboard settings.
Okay. Okay, I'm there.
Great. And when you make these changes, you can decide if you want to apply that to just that student or to apply to your whole class. So if you want your whole class, for example, only working on the number system and you want to turn off everything else, you can apply this to everybody in your class. Same goes for ELA. So if you have a student who you only want working on skills practice, you can turn off everything else and have them just working on skills practice or just working on word study and skills practice. So you can really customize and make sure that students are only getting exactly what they need from this page. Any other questions on this piece here?
You had a question from Mr. Hogan. He said the only subject areas are available are core areas. Is this correct?
So math, ELA, science, and social studies.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
So for our last 15 minutes together here, we're going to go more into science and social studies and then finish up with reports before I turn things over to Miss Eubanks. So science and social studies are set up a little bit differently from math and ELA, in that science and social studies are pre-planned units with materials and lessons and supports that you can pull out. So looking, for example, introduction to US government. We just had a big election. So if you're wanting to teach about US government, you can look at this unit and there's a variety of resources that are available to you. The first being literature connections. So maybe there's like a specific book in your library that you want to assign that goes along with this lesson. You can definitely access these literature connections here, but then every single science and social studies lesson is going to start with a video. And this video is just going to get students engaged and thinking critically about the topic. And then from there, there's a variety of articles, stories, labs, and activities that you can access, that you can give to your students that align with what you're teaching. So maybe you want to teach about the US Constitution. You can pull up this article on the Constitution here. And all of our articles are written at least 5 different reading levels. So maybe you have students who are reading at the 4th grade reading level. You'll see that this is very appropriate for someone reading at the 4th grade level. The vocabulary, the writing prompt, the text structure is appropriate for a student reading at that level. But then watch what happens when I change this to the 9th grade reading level. You see the vocabulary is more complex. The paragraphs are longer, and the comprehension questions are going to mirror the complexity of text. So no matter where your students are reading at, if you teach science or social studies, your students will be able to learn the same content without their reading level being a barrier of entry for them. And then watch what happens when I click assign. Reading levels are already in the system, so you don't need to worry about figuring out who's going to get which text at what level. It looks like we have mostly 5 C's and 4 B's here. You can just click assign, and then every single student is going to get this article at their individual reading level. So again, you as a science or social studies teacher can teach this unit, teach these topics, but every student is going to be learning about it at their own reading level. And let me go to science for some of our activities. So in addition to these articles and these writing prompts, there's also different activities and labs that you can pull from. So for example, looking at this unit on Newton's third law, we have this activity on water engines. So here we're observing an equal and opposite reaction. And look at these materials: aluminum cans, nails, strong thread, buckets, or deep tubs of water. Like, you're never going to find liquid nitrogen or dry ice or any crazy ingredients. It's all things that you can find around the house. So here you have students filling a can with water and swinging it to learn more about the third law of motion. Just really easy and engaging resources that you can use to get students thinking more deeply about the topics that you're teaching. We want science and social studies to be super easy for you to implement. Most teachers start with the articles, and then they start exploring more of the activities once they have a good foundation with the articles. And then at the end of every single science and social studies lesson, there is a unit assessment as well. So let me pause here. Questions on science or on social studies?
You had a question prior to that. It was a question that stated, if I turn off a setting, this is for, shared classes. If I turn off a setting in my course, does that turn off the setting for every other teacher?
No, just you.
And you also have a question of, can students type in their answers? So fill in answers.
Yes. We have a mix of type in, fill in, multiple choice.
Okay, awesome. How are the reading levels determined? Is it just by the diagnostic, or is there a Lexile level provided?
Both. So you can either have them take a diagnostic, or if you already know their Lexile level, you can enter that in and override the diagnostic.
Awesome. All right, that's it for the chat right now.
One more thing. I'm sorry, Eubanks, is too much to type. Meredith, if you'd go back to social studies, when you came out of making each student have a different level, I missed that part. I was answering a question on my phone for someone else, and I missed that, and you were talking at the very end. You said that you could, no, it was the one with the bars, the rectangular blue is at the end.
Okay, yes. So here, since student reading levels are already in the system, you just have to click assign, and every student will get this article at their individual reading level. So you don't need to worry about like giving Diane a 5th grade level article and Adriana a 2nd grade level article. That's already done. You just click assign, and then everyone gets the article at their level.
And that is because social studies is married to ELA.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Good question. Anything else?
There is a question about, can they see where students submit answers? Since I have data, did you want me to take that one once we get to that point?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. So Ms. Pitt, I'll show you that once I move to my portion. I'll show you how they submit their answers.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So in our last 10 minutes together here, I want to make sure that you know also how to give assignments and then how to track student data. So for math and ELA, when you click on the subject of your choice, you can also click here where it says standards. And someone asked earlier if you want to assign specific topics, can you? The answer to that is yes, you can absolutely do that. So after you click standards, click on the grade level that you teach or the grade level standard that you want to assign. And then when you click into the standard for both math and ELA, there's a variety of different resources that will be available to you. So for math, there's printable resources, inquiry-based lessons, there's videos and prerequisites. Or you can just assign this standard directly electronically by doing a targeted practice assignment. And when you click assign, you can select a mini ticket, an exit ticket, or a regular practice, and then preview the questions ahead of time, change out questions if there's questions that you don't like. And this will give you the opportunity to test student knowledge of these specific standards. And also when they go in to take this practice, the videos and the hints will come up. So if you're teaching something new, you can use Freckle to teach that standard and have students watch the videos as they practice through. ELA, it works similarly. You can go into standards, look at 8th grade, reading information. And maybe you want to assign a text that focuses on 8 RI1, cite the textual evidence that most strongly supports an analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. So when you click assign text, you can find a variety of articles that focus specifically on that standard that you're teaching. So if you want to assign, for example, an article, this article about the Arctic region, that's going to cover that specific standard. And just like what we saw with science and social studies, each article is written at least 5 different reading levels. So again, students can be working on the same comprehension skill, reading about the same topics, but at their own individual level. So for our last 5 minutes here, I want to make sure that you all know how to use some of our reports. And if there is only one report that you use, please use this activity feed here, because this activity feed is going to give you the most comprehensive information about student performance. Make sure you select the time period you want to see, as well as your subjects. And then you can go student by student to see exactly what they've done. So Gemma, our demo student, it looks like she did some math adaptive practice in geometry at the 6th grade level. She spent 1 minute on one question. She got a 0%. You can also click any of these little blue arrows to get more specific information. So if you want to see the exact questions that students answered, you can click that blue arrow to see those questions and see how they answered. So the activity feed is where I would recommend starting. And when you log into Freckle, it's going to take you into your activity feed automatically. If you want more data, you can click on your subject and then click down here where it says reports. I think the math levels report is also very beneficial for middle school teachers, because this will show you at a glance where your class started, where they're currently practicing, and how much growth they've made. So if you just want to see, where's my class at? How much growth have they made? You can go into this levels report, and this works for both math and ELA. And then finally, I showed a math example. Let me show an ELA example. We have these report cards, and this is for individual student information. So if you have a student that you're individually monitoring, that you want to see how much growth they're making, you can go into their individual report cards and see what they've been working on and how they've been doing over time. So here, this is showing us that Abraham is reading at the 2nd grade reading level. He's read 40 articles, and when he reads at his own reading level, it looks like summarizing and main idea, text structure and development, and explicit information are areas of growth for him. But it looks like author's intent, word choice and tone, plot and characters, and messages and themes are some strengths that he has. So questions, thoughts on any data or reports?
So Meredith, I'm just going to jump right in. We being instructional support, we have to monitor what we have as our interventions and as our resources. So I'll let you share that with me and Ms. Johnson and Ms. Archie and Ms. Eubanks at another time. But just keep that in mind that we're gonna need whole school overview, but I want to make sure that teachers do understand how to monitor their individual students. So I appreciate what you've done thus far with that.
Absolutely. And Tammy, we should set up like regular meetings with each other to look through some of that school data too, so we can.
Yes.
Yay! I am so excited. Okay, so after
You made her day.
we can work out some times to monitor some of that school data together.
Oh, Lord.
All right, so we've got about 3 more minutes before we switch things over to Miss Eubanks. So what are some last-minute lingering questions that are on your mind?
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Williams. I wrote in the chat, for science, are there simulations that the students can work on based on the standards?
Nice to meet you, Dr. Williams. Tell me more about what you mean by simulations.
Simulations. So rather than, we're in a virtual setting right now, so rather than giving them the experiment or the hands-on tangible things in class to do, are there things that they can put together online? You know, the simulations are usually connecting things, just kind of a visual, it's a visual representation, but they're actually part of it.
So while we don't have simulations specifically, there are several labs that can be done virtually or online. Like, for example, I think we have a weather lab where students are like researching weather in their area. So I definitely encourage you to explore the units to see what aligns best with what you're doing in this virtual teaching environment.
Okay, we will definitely do.
Meredith, if you don't mind, I'll actually like to address that for Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Yes, so I'm going to use my own teammate as an example. Miss Floyd is a science teacher as well. And throughout virtual learning, even with experiments that you just shown, she's done those science experiments online with her students. You know, days before the experiment, she would just notify the students of which materials they would need to gather at home, so they can all do the experiment together live on camera. So that's another option as well. And I've witnessed that from her.
That is so cool. Ms. Floyd, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you tell me more about that? Like what unit you were doing and how that went?
So the unit we were doing, that was like last semester, March. The kids, it was, I want to say, I can't remember, but it was a bug catcher. And I emailed all the children and I made sure that they had their vinegar, their plastic bottle, they had their scissors and whatnot. And the dishwashing liquid. And so I got on Teams and I was walking them through the process together. And they had a lot of fun doing it in the comfort of their homes.
Ms. Floyd, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that feedback.
So that is some of the hands-on that we're doing in our science department right now with the students working or having class in a virtual setting. That is what they're doing. They're gathering the materials that they can find at home to do those experiments at home. But also there are some other resources out there, platforms that we are able to do the interactive simulations, but we will perhaps look at that another time. My other question was feedback. When they're working on an assignment or a section, reading the article, answering the question, does it give them immediate feedback, any kind of feedback immediately to say, well, okay, this is, you need to go into this direction rather than this direction? How does that work?
Yes, it will let students know immediately whether their answer was correct or incorrect, and then it will prompt them to try again.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else?
We're looking good in the chat. Yay, Miss Floyd.
All right. Well, I will stop sharing, and Ms. Eubanks, I'll turn things over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Meredith. We definitely appreciate all of that information you provided everyone. I know I really like Freckle. I've been talking, like Ms. Grimes said, I've been talking about it for years, but I'm glad everyone else gets to see an idea of what it's capable of. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to share. Make sure I'm sharing the.
Yes, Mr. Hayes, I see you've got a question. Mr. Hayes? Do you have a question?
I don't think Freckle is what he was trying to say.
Sorry, didn't catch that.
Yes, can you?
He doesn't see his name either. I have another social studies teacher who doesn't see his name. So I'm gonna.
I don't have a question. I don't have a question. That was my mistake. I'm sorry.
Do you see your name, Hayes?
Huh?
You see your name? You're able to get into Freckle?
I can't get into Freckle.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. You didn't see your name. Okay, I got your name down. Don't worry.
Okay, all right.
And
All
then
right,
Ms. May, I see your hand is up as well.
Yes, my quick question was, okay, if you create an assignment, right, but you want to change the date that's it's assigned, how do you edit that?
You can do it as you, I'm sorry, Meredith, I didn't mean
No,
to.
go for it. I'll let you take this one.
Okay, actually, I'm going to show you how to do that, Ms. May.
Okay,
I'm going
thank
to show you how to change the date. I'm going to show you how to assign it immediately, how to assign it for the future, as well as how to close assignments.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, so is it sharing now? You guys see my Freckle screen?
Yep,
Yeah.
we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So of course, this is your dashboard. You'll see, you can see where the students starting at their math levels, as well as their activity feed. And of course, you have all 4 subject areas listed below. So if we jump down to view the activity feed, this places emphasis on your student levels. You filter by your class. So that's an old class. So I'll show you guys a more recent class. Filter by your class, and you can filter by the time period. So for example, these are my current students. And as you guys can see, the time period right now is this week, so February 1st. However, if you wanted to go back and just see how they did their progress from the last week or the last 3 months, you can change those categories in the drop-down menu just to see what type of accuracy they're getting or not. Now, the difference here in this week, and actually I'm going to change classes because I started Freckle before Clever. So right now, as I was talking to Meredith, my students are transitioning from my original classes to the rostered classes. So some of them are upset because they lost coins. They had to start over. So I'll show you guys what the roster looks like. Okay, so here you can see immediately which student has the most correct questions on your recent assignment, which student is practicing the most, which one's practicing the least, their accuracy, so on and so forth. As you scroll down, you'll see the time they practice on a particular assignment, which I'm going to get to as well. And the drop-down menu for each student will show you what grade level they were performing at as they were working on the adaptive practice. So this is what we were speaking to earlier about the diagnostic. So the majority for Ismahan, she's working in between 6th and 7th grade on the adaptive practice. And this is the focus of statistics probability. So again, you can narrow down your assignments or assessments either by standard as well as, by domain as well as by particular standards. So if you don't want to use an entire domain, you can just say, okay, I want to work on EE1A. Then you just choose that particular element. Okay, I don't know if I had any questions yet. All right, so we're gonna go and look at the assignments really quickly, and Ms. May was just speaking about. So when we get to the assignments portion, so if we get down to the assignments portion, this is what I was referring to earlier as the teacher backpack. That's what it used to be. But you'll see all the assignments you have. And at this point, once you assign anything to your students, you can choose to assign it for right then or assign it for a time period in the future. So for example, when I click on add an assignment, and let's go through making an assignment together. So let's say, Mr. Ferguson, you asked for a specific skill. So let's look at targeted practice. So we chose a targeted practice assignment. And I'm not just going to do math. We're going to do some variation. So let's say we're doing a targeted practice assignment. It will allow you to, for one, these are the students you're going to use it for. The second portion is selecting the standard. Okay, so you can either select the standard, you can select by domain, or you can choose to use the depth of knowledge challenge. So you have different options of how you want to create your assignment for the students. So in general, let's see, I'll have to delete this later, but let's look at an 8th grade Pythagorean assignment. Well, they only had that one skill, so let's go back up some. I go to 7th grade and we look at expressions. All right, if we look at expressions in 7th grade, you'll see that they have several different focus skills. So for example, if I go to EE2, this one's not showing those focus skills. All right, because my students have already done it. I apologize. Okay, but it'll show you the focus skill for that assignment. So the focus skill will be that standard that you're focusing on, and can your students create an equation or expression in this format. Once you go to the next section, you're going to determine how you want this to be presented. Typically, the mini ticket option is something like a bell ringer option. So if you want this to be your bell ringer was just 3 questions, would you like it to be 5 questions or just 10 questions, a regular practice assessment? Before you assign anything, you can actually preview the test. So you can click here to preview the types of questions and decide if you like those questions. So for example, if you look at question number 1, if you don't like question number 1, you can click change and customize the question types for every assessment or every assignment that you give your students. And then once you find it in the right sweet spot that you like, you go back and you click on hide assignment preview. I always choose the support settings. I always choose to go ahead and support it for anyone that's working below that level, just so they can always have, whether it's a hint, a video to assist them as they're working through the assignment. And last but not least, you have 2 options here. You can assign it immediately. That means as soon as I click it right now, the students will see it in their dashboard, or you can click here to assign it for the future. And okay, say, hey, I'll assign this for next Monday, or I'll assign this to start next Tuesday, and it'll start at 12 a.m. Of that day. Okay, did that answer your question, Ms. May? Guess we did. All right, so I want to sign that. And we're gonna.
No, Ms. Eubanks, what I want to know is if I've already created the assignment, but I want to change the date in which it's given to the students. Like I put one on February 3rd, but I want it to be on like the 8th. How do I change it?
You can click to assign again.
Yeah, I don't think you can change it once you've already assigned it. What I would recommend doing is deleting the assignment and then reassigning it for February 8th.
And that will probably most likely alleviate any confusions. So when you see what your students are submitting or the assignments that they have, for example, this was assigned on the 26th. Again, like I said, my kids have transitioned now to their Clever course. So I'll show their Clever course instead. Or this one. It gives you at a glance look at their progress. So for example, simplifying linear expressions, drop down menu here. Green, of course, is, as we would say, proficient. Yellow, developing, and red would be, needs more assistance or beginning. So this gives you that right at a glance. And of course, in this column here, you'll see a check mark for every student because I go ahead and provide all of them support. Whether they need it or not, it'll still be available to them. Freckle, again, also allows your students to take multiple attempts. Because, of course, if you didn't do well, the whole purpose of it is now we can intervene in some way to help you do better. We don't just want you, the purpose isn't just to have a low score and leave it at that. Let's see what's going on and let's get you a better score. All right, so on this right column here, again, you'll see the scores of the students. And you can click the arrow next to it to see the test itself. Now, what I will say is for each test, what I've noticed with my students is though I pick the question types, just like we did earlier, I can pick the question types. What Freckle does is it'll do little changes. For example, if it gives the students word problems, it'll change the names of each character in the word problem. So Missy, her character may say Leonard, and then John character says Josh. So for students, they think they have different questions when really the names are just different. So it does that just to make sure that the students, for one, if they're on that same level, they aren't getting the same question where they're like, their classmates that they're working off the same assignment with them. But this will show you examples. And typically with using this as a bell ringer or starting off the class, if there are questions that most of the students have gotten incorrect after I look at them, we'll do error analysis. So I'll take the question itself and use it as a question that we work together as a class to see where we went wrong, what steps we should have taken instead, just to help assist with them learning more about that part. All right, are there any questions so far? Okay, showing you guys one more thing down here. This is where the intervention part comes in. So at the end of the assignment, there are these boxes down where it says you can reteach, practice makes perfect, and ready for a challenge. So the kids will fall into these three categories. That's why I mentioned the green, yellow, and the red. So the red, the reteach, will be assigning intervention for these 8 students. So you can click the button, and again, that would assign those extra skills that they would need for simplifying expressions. These students here, they're just practicing with the standard themselves. So again, this is about the 60, 70 range. So they get it, but they're just understanding. So this is just a little bit more practice. And of course, the green range is for the students that they really understand, and you're just excelling them, giving them more of a challenge. So you can go ahead and assign them separate assignments according to that standard, according to that element that would enhance their instruction. All right. The same goes for ELA social studies. Well, that will miss Meredith showed you guys that earlier. I'm going to actually show you guys the roster part, because I wanted to show connections teachers. Some of you are actually already listed under students. So I know when you were signing in earlier, you guys stated that you couldn't see your account, but under my students, some of you are already actually listed. So on my account, if I go to my Clever account, we do the drop down. So for example, this is my first period class. Now, some of these kids are going to be listed as never because, again, they're transitioning from my old Freckle to now the Clever Freckle. However, several of them are shared already with 3 teachers, 4 teachers, 5 teachers. So if I click here on Jacob, I can see that he's already shared with Miss Ash, Miss Bowden Williams, Miss Boyd Hill, Dr. Bell, and Miss Floyd. Those teachers already have an account with me that's shared that they can use to see data about Jacob. Now, if I choose to add another teacher, then I just do that down here at the bottom. So this is what I was referring to as far as some of the connection teachers already have that that access. I just, maybe it's a glitch on in between. Right. Addition to sharing with teachers is the tool that I will finally be able to use. And I think this tool is very important. I'm going to scroll to the top. The way Freckle works is it keeps up with student data as long as they are part of the program. And since there haven't been many people using Freckle, I haven't been able to use the tool of transferring my students to their new teacher. And this tool is at the end of 7th grade, once my students have finished 7th grade content in August, I can take all of their material, all of their data, all of their standing, and transfer it to their 8th grade math teacher. So their 8th grade math teacher has a starting point at the beginning of the school year. Or their 8th grade ELA teacher has a starting point at the beginning of the school year, and no one has to wait for, let's say, map data or any other data because it's already provided through Freckle. It's just simply by transferring the students over to their new teachers. And of course, in the same way from 6th grade teachers to 7th grade teachers. Are there any questions about that? And I'm sorry, Meredith, I know you can't see the chat, so Ms. Grimes, if you can watch it for me.
And Ms. Eubanks, can you also show that assignments first mode?
Got it.
In student view?
Like, you know how you have your students do their assignments first?
Yes, I'll go back to that. So what Meredith is referring to is when I have assignments, there's going to be a checkbox here. I have this box checked off so that, yes, of course, we want the students to have practice, but this guarantees that they will prioritize, Freckle will actually prioritize your assignments first. So whatever you have assigned to the students, once you check this box here, that's the first thing the students will see. They won't be able to do anything else until they have completed your assignment. So after they've completed your assignments, of course, then they can go spend their coins if they earned coins, or they can go and practice on their own. But this checkbox right here prioritizes your assignments over everything else. And earlier, someone asked about the data reports. So we take a look at that. The data reports are by subject. So if I go to math and click on reports, you have reports similar to that of a MAP assessment. So you'll see a performance band, student, their goal setting, their class grouping. So I'll click on class grouping, whether it's by their grade level, the level of growth, and the questions that they're answering. All of each domain that they've tested on or had an assignment on will be provided. One more thing. Go back to, of course, we spoke about, see the math levels. And adaptive math levels as well. So for each domain, you'll have a breakdown of the students, their starting levels, where they are, and transition on forward. Again, even though I've been using Freckle, since we are transitioning, that's why the data is not set there. So that's the only difference, transitioning from my individual class to now the Dekalb Clever class. However, there was one more thing I needed to go and show you guys. We'll go back to assignments. A quick check on assignments. The view that I had before was by assignment, but if you also click on by student, that'll help you with a quick check. Say you're in class and you're just doing, let me see who's completed this or who hasn't completed. Each of your assignments, of course, is listed there. If they have a check, it's completed. If it's a red box, they have not. So that's an easy reminder, to get kids on task and, hey, I have so-and-so that hasn't completed formations or applications. Granted, the grade isn't there, but this is just a quick glance to get students back on task. That is the teacher view. If there aren't any more questions about the teacher view. All right, so I will show you guys what it looks like for a student.
Yeah, there are no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Grimes. I'll show you guys what it looks like for a student. Okay, so again, the students, the easiest way, I would recommend them going through Clever as well. Just have them go through Clever and click on Freckle. And I'm going to go in as one of my students so you guys can see.
Ms. Eubanks, when you when you give them the assignment, does it alert them immediately? How do they know that you've assigned them work in Freckles?
They know because I tell them. And since we do it so regularly that it's become routine, the students, they'll check on their own. Some students will check on their own and say, oh, Miss Eubanks, I did it early. So if you are, it's a good thing now that Clever is separating it by class period, you know, especially since we're virtual and we see kids every other day. So if you want to assign, now I assign my Tuesday, Friday students, I assign them, I wait until Tuesday, you know, so they won't try to do it ahead of time before they receive instruction. But it's more so about communicating with them. But once you have that embedded, like, hey, this is a habit, this is what we do, most of them check Freckle before they check Verge.
Okay, Miss May does have a question. How do you copy assignments for more than one class? I guess like a duplication kind of thing.
Honestly, I just picked the standard. I just picked the same standard. If I'm picking that same standard, and because you can rename it, you don't have to keep it as the name that Freckle provides for you. There's an option to rename it. So whatever standard I clicked on, I'll just do that for the same classes, the other classes.
Okay, so you don't create an assignment and like share it to the other. Are you able to share it to the other classes, or you have to do it class by class by class? Is that? I don't know. Ms. May, come off mute and ask your question because I may have a different understanding, please.
That's what I was asking.
Now, Ms. May, what I'm going to be honest with you about is I'm in transition about that because prior to our Freckle having access through Clever, I only had 2 classes. I put all of my general math students in one class and all of my accelerated in another class. So I never had to worry about sharing an assignment because they were already getting different assignments anyway.
So right now, you will need to assign class by class, but that's good feedback for us that you'd want to be able to copy assignments in between classes. So that's definitely something that I can pass along to the product team.
Okay, that's super.
I'm going in as Bo. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going in as Bo Ray. So this is what he will see. Freckle will ask him, which class are you practicing in? He'll see all of his teachers here. So Miss Ash, Dr. Bell, Miss Bowden Williams, Miss Floyd, and myself. He will then decide on, of course, whichever class he's in, and that's the class to click on. So we'll go with math. This is just a beginning roster. So the students then have to pick their avatar. I'll just pick something random for him. Oh God, pressure. He's gonna come in his account like, who changed my hair? As you can see, Bo just has on a tank top and shorts. That's just the basic clothing. So what Freckle does is this is basically like Meredith was saying, this is where the competition comes from. The students work on their assignments. They work on the assessments and things that you give them because they're earning coins from that. So once they earn coins, they can buy new clothes. They can buy new accessories. They can dress up. So for the students, is if someone, for example, if someone was to see Bo right now, they would know that, okay, Bo needs to go and practice because he doesn't have a shirt yet, or whatever the case may be. So that's that competitiveness of Freckle. That's where it comes from. Okay, so we'll go on. So there you go. He earned 25 coins for logging in today. However, the store is still locked, so they cannot go to the store whenever they want to, as Meredith mentioned earlier. So they have to earn the store access. Now, this is what I mean about the assignments first. Immediately, this pops up for Bo. He can't do anything else except for his assignments in math. Now, after he's finished those assignments, then he can move on to practice or if there are any other things that are listed for him. Okay. So since this assignment is here for him, that will be the focus that he would have to complete. Let's see. And I use a student here. Okay. So then he will see his range and where he would place in class. And this is actually one of my smaller classes. I just picked the student. But that's exactly how the assignment feature would work. So it would force them to make sure that they're completing those assignments that you have for them. And again, I'm sorry. All right. And again, the students would have access to all of their teachers at once. So however, if Ms. Bolden Williams wanted to see how his scores in math were, say if she were talking or speaking with a parent, she could easily click from tab to tab just to see progress for every subject area. So that makes conversation even smoother. But for the students, that also puts all of their resources or all of their interventions in one space. When we talk about different databases, especially with us being virtual, and I know everybody from one day or another speaks about, oh, there's so many platforms or so many programs and things of that nature. So this is a way to narrow it down. If you find this beneficial for you. Are there any questions so far? Ms. Grimes?
I'm sorry, somebody was at my door. I'm back here in the corner. They not, okay, I'm back. Okay.
See what I'm dealing with?
All right, I'm sorry. I gotta put my glasses on. Wait a minute. Okay, now I can see you. What you said?
Okay, I'm asking. Never mind. Were there any questions, Ms. Grimes?
Oh, no. Ain't no questions in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. No. That was Ms. May's question already. So no, we don't have any questions in the chat. I don't want this to end, but I know it has to. But okay, I'm going back on mute. Oh, Ms. Warner, listen, Ms. Warner wants you to show just how it looks in Verge.
How it looks in Verge.
Yeah, please, so that the teachers will know. And then Dr. Williams said, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Dr. Williams was giving a suggestion here that there are boxes on the left of the classes. Click on each to add multiple classes. All right. Look at you, Doc. Look at you, Doc.
Okay, and I'll show what you guys can do to add it to your Verge page, just for easy access for the kids as well.
And Meredith, Verge is our platform where our teachers and students meet to get assignments. And so it's a big name around here. So if you hear Verge, just know that that's what it is, where we all converge to get everything started.
Cool. Is it like Teams, is it video conferencing or?
No video. I think it's just visual literacy.
Okay.
Yeah, not the video though.
Yeah, it doesn't give the video part. However, it does. It's a hub. We'll call it.
That's what I was getting ready to say. A hub.
It's a hub for the students. So if I go back, I'll show you guys. For example, if I go back to an assignment that I was showing you guys on the list. Second. All right, for this first assignment, if you want this directly, again, as you were speaking to that earlier, Dr. Williams, yes, the students will know that it's assigned in Freckle. However, for them to see it visually, you use this drop down here and you click on share link. This is my route. I click on share link and I copy this link. You can also share it on Remind as well. But I'll copy this link and I place it in Verge for my students. So when they go to Verge, and they go to their virtual assignments for the week. So I'll show you guys what this week looks like. All right, so they already see that on Monday they're doing Freckle because it's labeled Freckle here. So when they scroll down for their Freckle assignment, each class period, of course, has its own code. And what I do is I embed the link into the code itself. Okay, so I embed the link here, and then I make sure that they know that they have their own class code at this point, because originally, again, like I said, we were just doing a whole group code, but now they'll have a different code. So all the students have to do is click here, and it'll take them straight to their assignment. Did y'all even see that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why my other screen looked like it didn't share. Okay.
No,
That's super cool.
Any comments?
It's shared.
Okay, awesome. Any questions or any comments? Now, I will say Freckle won't necessarily create a due date for you. I create my own due date for the kids, as you can see down here. So that's what I mean about the closing part. You can close or complete the assignment. You have to do that manually. But this is just so assignments won't just progress on and on and on, especially if we're working on a particular topic. You know, the practice time is now. So that part would be for you to decide on, okay, we've had enough time. I've inputted the grades that I've seen for this assignment. So make sure you do that first. Be sure to go ahead and upload those grades for Freckle first before you complete it or close it. And then you can move forward. Yes. All right, I will stop sharing. You guys were really awesome today. Thank you so much for all of the questions that you guys contributed to. I'm going to place a survey in the chat if you guys wouldn't mind completing that. I'll let Meredith finish if you have some final words you'd like to share.
It was just great meeting with all of you today. Thank you all so much for your time. I'm going to share my screen really briefly one more time. So if you didn't at the beginning of the training get the email for me and our support team, you can get it now. Any last minute questions before we let you all go?